Well, ladies and gentlemen, looks like the threats have finally gone through. If you guys remember, I did a video about a week and a half or so ago, maybe even 2 weeks, talking about how Ubisoft just might go on strike at one of the worst times to go on strike. Because let's be real, man, Ubisoft is imploding from within. Ubisoft is getting destroyed from every facet that they possibly can get destroyed from. They got destroyed on Star Wars Outlaws. They're going to get destroyed on Assassin's Creed Shadows. They got decimated on Skull and Bones, and it just gets worse and worse. Well, apparently, the company has now gone on strike, and for the most ridiculous reason that you could possibly imagine.
I'm fired, aren't I?
Oh, yes.
Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, things aren't looking good for Ubisoft. Their stock is at an all-time low. They have lost almost 90% of stock value, not in 5 years, not in 10 years, in just 1 year. Ubisoft is a shell of its former self. And of course, people are talking about how Ubisoft might get bought out. And the most likely people that are going to buy out Ubisoft is going to be Tencent, because they are a majority shareholder. And for some reason, they are really invested and wanting to buy Ubisoft and the IPs that Ubisoft owns. But Ubisoft going on strike right now all over working from home is the dumbest thing that I have ever seen. So let's get into this video, guys. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. It says the strike was sparked by a September message from management insisting on a return to 3 days working in the office for all staff worldwide. Workers at video game giant Ubisoft began 3 days of strike action in France on Tuesday, October 15th, in a dispute over home working, and pay, hitting a firm already struggling with poor sales and a collapsing share price. Titles such as Star Wars Outlaws, Skull and Bones, and a new episode of Prince of Persia have all failed to impress, and the company spooked investors by delaying the latest release of the Assassin's Creed franchise to next year. Now, again, guys, the amount of L's that Ubisoft has taken in 1 year is astronomical. There is no company that should ever lose this amount of money in 1 year and expect to stick around. Seriously, there is no company out there that should do that. Even Disney hasn't lost anywhere near this amount of money. I would even argue Skull and Bones, if Skull and Bones was genuinely around $800 million, and then you factor in Star Wars Outlaws and Prince of Persia, you're well over $1 billion loss. And even Disney experienced $1 billion loss in their production sector, right? In their movie, in their TV business. So they lost an insane amount of money to the point where they're either even or more than Disney, which is insane to me. But again, their stock falling usually coincides with stuff like this, right? These unions, these people strike, they normally strike when the company is at its weakest. That way, they're at the best chance to get what they want, right? You never want to strike when the company has all the options in the world. You want to strike when the company has no options, when the company feels like its back is against the wall. That's when you want to strike, and that's when they do always strike. And that's how you could tell that this has definitely been planned since the beginning. But let's continue. The value of Ubisoft shares has collapsed by more than 40% since the beginning of the year. More than that. They're being very nice to Ubisoft. It is well over 40%, touching their lowest level in 10 years in September. This week's strike, sparked by a September message from management insisting on a return to 3 days working in the office for all staff worldwide, follows on from another walkout in February when hundreds in France joined the dispute over pay. Unions said they have received no response to the grievances aired in February, and that the September message was the straw that broke the camel's back. Clement Monguini of the STJV union told Agence France Press the move to in-person working broke promises made to staff and calls into question the way that they organize their lives. Now, this is not the first time that we have seen staff that, at a particular, fucking tech company or whatever. This is not the first time we have seen staff decide to want to walk out and strike over having to go back to the office, right? I mean, this is such a privileged freaking world that we live in, that COVID has now essentially created this world where people think it's perfectly okay to do your job at home for essentially every single job. And if you're asked to go back to the office keep in mind, these companies pay for the office space. If you're asked to go back to the office, suddenly the company's being unreasonable. I think it's insane. I really do. I will never understand the whole work from home thing. That only works for certain jobs, right? Obviously, you know, I worked in my life at an office for such a long fucking time, man. I only recently am able to work from home because now I do YouTube full time. But even then, it still is like, you still got to go to work, man. If you work for another company and you're not running your own business like I am, then go to the office. If they're asking you to go to the office, go to the office. And if you don't like it, go find another job that's going to help you be able to work remotely. It's just that simple. This whole like temporary mandate of working from home, I remember years ago when I was talking about all the mandates of working from home, I said that eventually what's going to happen is the companies are going to have a really tough time trying to convince people to go back to the office after they spoiled them to work from home. These people who want to work in their pajamas and not do a goddamn thing and not have managers breathing down their neck, that's really what it's about, right? Accountability is very difficult to do when you have people working at home. It's a lot harder to make them accountable over a Zoom call than it is to be in person. You can also see what they're doing in person. Ubisoft managers told staff in an email that returning to the office was vital to foster creativity and promised to give workers time to adjust. AFP saw around 50 people on a picket line in Montpellier and more than 100 in Paris, with Ubisoft offices in Annecy and Lyon also affected. The STJV union said more than 700 were taking part, a similar number to February's action, which was one of the gaming sector's biggest walkouts. Strikers outside Ubisoft Paris headquarters told AFP that they were becoming disillusioned and felt the company was not listening. How long will it be before they start laying off workers and downgrading their ambitions? Asked Lola, a 30-year-old game designer who described the atmosphere as gloomy. Well, listen, maybe, right? Maybe you guys would not have to fire a bunch of people if you were actually giving gamers what they wanted. I mean, how many times have we got to say that, right? There are so many games out there that are giving gamers what they wanted, and those developers are being rewarded with the gamers' money. You guys, on the other hand, you are actively doing everything you possibly can to give the gamers what they don't want, and then telling them that if they don't like it, don't buy it, and then telling them that, oh, well, you guys are just bigots and racist because you're not buying it. You guys come up with all these excuses, and I know these guys are bottom workers, so they probably don't even get involved with that. But you could just see, look at the guy here. Look at the guy here with the rainbow hat. I mean, come on, bro. You guys are creating your own issues. You guys are creating your own problems. You are the reason why that you are dealing with the situation that you're in terms of layoffs and whatnot. So you think by striking, it's going to make it any easier? No, of course it's going to make it harder. And Ubisoft is going to have to make some decisions. And ultimately, they're going to decide to probably get rid of your ass and move on to someone else who is going to be a good little shill. That's what they want. That's why they have these mentorship programs that train workers on how to be a good company puppet, because they don't want to have to hire people from the outside who are going to potentially act like you guys are right now. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.